Welcome to Nevertheless Podcast with Bidemi Mark-Mordi, a show dedicated to organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Today, you would learn how to discover your essence and live more powerfully.
Hey everyone, God bless you. Welcome to the Nevertheless Show, a show for organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. With me in the studio today is Bethel Umba. I call her. My friend Bethel Umba, and today we'll be talking about many things. If you remember, the past month we had been looking at enoughness, and we looked at what it meant to be enough, the concept of being enough in who God has said you are. We looked at comparison and we looked at many things. How did that series go for you? Thank you to all of you who sent in your feedback. But today we're moving on to a brand new series, and the jury is still out on what we'll call this series. But we are going to just have conversations around many things that a certain generation want to ask me. So Bethel, welcome to the Nevertheless Show. You made it here.
And I'm excited. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have the opportunity to do this on camera.
On camera.
Yes.
Okay.
You know,
That's her speak for. She is always asking me hard questions.
You know.
Now, okay, so full disclosure, there are
Yeah.
questions she may ask me today and I'll pass on them. I think I have the right to be able to do that, right? Okay, but whereas really we're going to have a great time today. I can already sense it.
Yeah.
So Bethel, where are we starting from this week?
So today we're talking about harnessing relationships.
Oh my God.
And
She went
yeah.
right in. I did
Yes.
everything behind the scenes to beg her to start from identity. You know, I always like to start conversations from identity, right? And she's refused. And now she wants to ambush me with relationships. Again, let the court note that I reserve the right to say no to some of the questions that will be asked me. Yes? But yes, it's going to be a great time in the midst of what we're doing. Remember to follow me, Bidemi Mark-Mordi, on all social media platforms. Bidemi Mark-Mordi, one word. X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Threads. No TikTok yet, but maybe we'll get there. So please follow me. And this show is the Nevertheless Show. So Bethel, what's your first question for me?
Yes, so you came to a conference we organized last week,
I
and
did.
you gave us some 20 amazing nuggets, and we decided to just put it together, align them according to topics. And you had suggested identity, but we decided to navigate some very pertinent, aspects, and we just felt it would be good. And then the conversations we've been having behind the scene, and we just feel that this would be a good area to navigate.
Okay,
And
so shoot your
yes.
first shot.
So my first shot, one of the things you said was that you need friends in every season. And for me, it's the emphasis on that every
Season.
And a lot of times we feel that we have to have, some of us have friends we've had for 20 years, for 15 years, for 10 years, but knowing that there are friends that you need for certain seasons is a conversation on its own.
Yes.
But we want you to talk about what that means, really. What does it mean to have friends in every season, and even to discern friends that you need
Ask
in
one
particular
question
seasons?
at a time.
It's just how this is. We know how it works. Let's do a sandwich in this one.
So when I think about relationships and
Yeah.
friendship in the seasons,
Yes, ma'am.
I think the first thing is to be able to define.
Okay.
Number one, define the season you are in.
Okay.
Because a definition and an understanding of the season you are in will determine the friends you should have in those seasons. Yes? So when I say you should have a friend for every season or in every season, I believe that what I was trying to say to you, you and your ladies at that conference was, please don't do life alone, no matter what season of life you are in. If you are the president's wife, make sure you have friends in that season. If you are the wife of the pauper, or you are the pauper herself, make sure you have friends in that season. And I know when it comes to friendship in different seasons, they don't necessarily all have to be like you, isn't it? No, so when I say every season, it's not like I'm a pastor's wife now, so all my friends have to be pastor's wives. No, not necessarily. It's just that make sure that there's someone that you are able to rely on, trust, who is able to support you no matter the season of life that you are in. That's what I meant.
So when you feel a particular relationship isn't serving you in a certain season, and perhaps you have history with that person, how do you navigate that? How do you navigate, in fact, the conversation around that? And how do you navigate, especially if God is, certain people are walking into your life in that season, and you discern that these relationships are necessary for the season that you are in. And then you have certain relationships that
lived there.
Yes. How do we navigate that conversation? You don't want to, for the use of the word, make a mess of what you have had already, and yet you know that you need to engage this relationship because you need it in this season.
Well, what I try to do is define my seasons properly. So if, for instance, we're in a relationship, in a mentor-mentee relationship, for instance, and you are my mentor, you've been my mentor for the last 10 years. And my season is changing, and I can see now that, not that you're no longer useful, but for the season that I'm in, I'm not able, or I do not need to come to you every week or every month like I used to do. I think that my best bet would be to first come to you and explain to you, or define for you, or help you understand the season that I'm now in. Because what most of us do is we become uncomfortable, it becomes awkward, and then we just break. Now, the thing about breaking is when you break a bone and it's not broken by a professional, it's bound to cause pain, and is bound to possibly not heal and align properly. But if I come to you and say, this is what where I'm at, this is what I need, I usually would typically say to you, this is what I need in this season. Do you know someone who might be able to help me? Full disclosure, I've seen that person and I've seen that person. Do you think they can help me?
I see.
Without saying to them they're no longer useful, you are saying to them, you now need to share me with this person. Now, some of them will say, oh, yes, I know this person. Oh, that person is good at what they do. Others will say, oh, I've never heard about her. Maybe give me time to check her out. Others will say, I know someone better. Let me see if she will be a good, or he will be a good fit for you. But the point is, in all of that, you've had a conversation where you have redefined your relationship without knocking on that person's door and saying, I didn't have to knock on your door and say, good morning, Bethel, I've come to redefine our relationship. Do you see it?
Yes.
But I've had a conversation that now puts you on notice that something is shifting with me that may affect what we have, or the dynamics of what we have in this season. Now, after that conversation, what I would typically do is, for my next, whether 2 months, 3 months, in this new thing that I'm doing, I would always report back. I always say, oh, this is what we're doing now. Oh, I had this meeting with this person. This is what has come out of it. Oh, I'm going here, and I don't know if you'll be coming too, but I just wanted you to know. They know that you didn't use and dump them.
Oh, I see. Wow.
But that your seasons changed, and because you have to keep growing, you have to do what you've got to do. Now, this is very critical, because if you don't do it that way, you see, this season that changed, that's made you now need someone else. That season will change too. And the next person you need may be the one that you have left in this season. So my expression usually is, do not slam the door. When I got wise, I've slammed many doors in my life before. Maybe that's how I learned. But when I became wise, that you can have a relationship where you don't see people for 5 years, but they're still useful relationships to you.
Wow.
Then
Wow.
you make sure that you don't transition in such a way, because transition is not the same as living. You can transition without living.
Okay.
It's just that with the frequency with which we see and the conversations we used to have now changed.
Okay.
I've had people who I looked up to, who now I can't say they look up to me, but the dynamics of our relationships have shifted, and the things we're doing with each other now just put them in my life and put me in their life to be the helper in this season, where they were the ones that helped and fed me.
Wow. Wow.
So we need to be careful.
Wow.
So is, that thing that, it asks me when someone says, my season with you is over. You can say it better.
I was going to talk about that.
You can say it better. You can rephrase it.
Yes.
You can be a bit more sensitive.
Yeah.
Because when you walk up to someone and say, my season with you is over, you're saying, I finished using you, I'm dumping you now to go to the next thing. Is the season changing? Yes. So that's why you should say, my seasons are changing. And because my seasons are changing, I have to make adjustments in my life. It's not the same that my season with you is over.
Yeah. Wow.
Can you see? Just verbiage.
Yeah.
Using the right words for the right moment.
Yeah.
And things just change and shift.
Wow. Wow. I'm so glad you touched on that, because I was going to ask, when you talked about slamming doors, and I was going to ask about what wisdom people need to be able to close the doors and not slam them. So, and I'm glad you touched on that. But for the person who was, for the use of the word, the mentor or the coach in that season, because sometimes, especially you've been you have some experience. Sometimes, do you feel are there certain insecurities that pop up when you have such conversations?
I think that I would call them sensitivities, not insecurities.
Okay.
Because if you've done life with someone for 2 years, for 3 years, for 4 years.
Yeah, so how do you deal with that?
And all of a sudden, because seasons are changing and the person is shifting things, a vacuum is automatically being created. Now, sometimes if God is gracious, he will let you know that that season is about to change. At least with me, I'll begin to prepare my heart. Because in those relationships, when I give myself, I give it all. Do you get it?
Yeah.
But there are many times I've been blindsided. So I did not know the season was changing until the person popped up in front of me to say, my season with you is ending or something.
Okay.
Initially, again, in my younger years and less wiser years, I used to really get upset. And I was saying, because that's the sensitivity, you can do it better. You should have said it in another way. Because if you say it in another way, then I'll be able to better, receive what you are telling me. So those days, I too would just be like, okay, goodbye, blah, 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 blah. But when I go wiser, I insist on conversations. So I will say to you, come back and tell me what is changing. Even though it's hurting, even though it's painful, even though I know that a vacuum probably will be created, because of this shift in what we used to have. I want to know what you're doing. I want to know why you feel like the time is right for you to make those decisions. Not to stand in your way, but to help me understand so that I do not let you leave that relationship with a bad taste in my own mouth. Do you see it? So the one that is the mentor or the coach or the one they look up to also needs to just force a conversation. I had a classic example yesterday. Someone walks up to me and says, oh, this is happening to me, that is happening to me, that is happening to me, I want to shift back. And I said, okay, so what plans have you put in place? And I think this one. I said, no, I don't want that plan. I would think this one. I say, no, I would take this, but not because I want it. Because I don't know what else to do if I don't take it. And I said, okay, go do what you want to do. But I need to say something to you. And then I told her what I thought is the proper thing to do. But in saying it, and I said to her, in time past, I probably would not have had this conversation with you. But I'm tired of seeing all of you falling off this cliff like flies without understanding that you are doing things the wrong way. So I'm telling you, this is not the right way to navigate this thing that you are trying to navigate. Now, please hear me. I also told her, I said, you don't have to change your mind or do anything different from what you have decided. But it is my responsibility to say to you that this is not the way you should move in this way. And we had the conversation. Whether she's heard me or she's not heard me, the jury is still out, yes?
Yeah.
But at the end of this transaction, however it ends, I do not feel like I'm not sensitive to, yes, but we get on because God doesn't leave a gap or a vacuum for too long.
Wow.
He would make a way for someone else to feel what it is that has been left open so that you can continue to move on. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
But I think that the burden of proof is on the one who looks up to you.
Okay.
The burden of proof is on that one.
Okay.
To say, look, conversations like, if you ever need me, I'll be there. And not if you ever need me and you walk away and in 6 months you don't check on the person. If you ever need me, I'm still there, means out of the blue, you need to reach out and say, oh, I thought about you this morning. How are you doing? Is there anything happening that you need my my support in? Always ask those questions, because what you have done is you have left the door open so that when the seasons change again, because that's the thing about seasons, they keep changing. And this is the door you need to walk through to get where you need to go next. The person there will not hear the knock, because if you have done life with me long enough, I know how you knock. So if I don't want to open, I simply won't answer.
Wow.
Do you see?
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Ma'am, this is so profound. Some of the things that you're sharing, ma'am, are so they're not easy conversations to have. And it's because I'm just thinking about those conversations that you talked about, the conversations that need to happen. And this is now I want you to speak to the person who is possibly an empath, or someone who just feels that there's something wrong with me as a leader. It's the reason why this person or this person is walking away. And somebody who is latching their sense of calling and authenticity to the number of people that have been following, or they are still speak to pastors, speak to leaders.
I don't know if I'm qualified to speak to them, but I need to go on a break. When we come back, I will attempt to speak to me and not to them. Yes, because I don't want anybody thinking that I'm there to lecture them. So I'll speak to myself. So we're going to go on a break now. Please don't go away. You can tell that these conversations are brain busting, right? We'll be right back. God bless you.
Are you seeking to clarify your purpose and profit from it? Then get into Purpose University this year. It's a 10-week e-course for people of faith who seek to clarify their purpose and profit from it. The DNA of purpose has been put together to help you understand what purpose is about, and also help you discover what your journey of purpose looks like. Register today at yourpurposeu.org, where Bidemi Mark-Mordi would hold your hands so you can discover your purpose and live a more powerful life. In a world filled with many fears and discouragement, life often becomes a burden. For those who know the way, life is just simple. Do not worry, you're not alone on this life's journey, as Bidemi Mark-Mordi shares powerful insights and principles from her everyday work and life experiences in her book, Nevertheless. Nevertheless is a book designed to encourage and equip you to face life with courage, hope, and determination. Get a copy of Nevertheless and other books written by Bidemi Mark-Mordi, like The Wisdom of the Seed, Honor, The Theology of Work, and so much more from a bookstore nearby, or call 080-905-63555, or send an email to bidemi@bidemimarkmordi.com to place your order. I guarantee you will make it. Nevertheless.
Welcome back to the Nevertheless Show, a show for
organic leaders and leaderpreneurs. Welcome back. We've been having a great time in the studio, and we're looking at harnessing relationships. That's what she said. So what was your last question?
So you had spoken so well about navigating difficult conversations with transitions. And I was asking, before we went on the break, I want you to speak to leaders who feel there's something wrong with me, if someone, or there's something I didn't do right, there's something, I possibly didn't see that if I had done differently, this person wouldn't be walking away, wouldn't be making this transition. So I want you to speak to leaders, business persons, pastors, in that space.
Okay, so I wish I could say that I haven't been there. I still am there. And I don't think that as a leader, you ever get to the point where someone will not leave. Now, the truth of the matter is that sometimes people would leave and you know why they're leaving. But most of the time, people would leave and you will not know why they're leaving. Most of the time, people will leave without even giving you the benefit of closure by walking up to you. They will lie through their teeth until they leave. So they will say things to you. And if you have a relationship where you believe them, and it's only down the line you realize that they lied to you in their transition. All of those things will happen. And it happened to me many times. So I cannot tell you that they will not happen again. What I have learned in the experiences I have had is that initially I'll feel really sad, and the very first break that I had wasn't even a mentor-mentee. I was leading this person, but we were more friends than we were leaders. I cried for days because, I didn't know, I do not know how to give 20% of me or 40% of me. I don't know how to hold back. So any relationship I find myself in, I give my all. And that was, it wasn't a love relationship. If a love relationship, you can understand in your mind, you're like, well, but this is a relationship with someone that you respect, you love, and you are thinking you had the same ideas, you're going to grow the same way, and you continue to grow, and you become what my coach calls rocking chair bodies. But here you are, and something is breaking, and you do not even know why this thing is breaking. I cried for days. That was the first one. But eventually I got to one point and I said, Lord, there must be a replacement for this person. And I opened myself up, and God brought new people. And that next season was better, by far better than the previous season. Not that the person did not contribute in their season, but in this season, for one, I had like 5. So I had almost everything that I wanted in that new season for where I'm going. There's no way that people will not live our lives. There's no way. I'm learning to not be sensitive. And the operative word is I am learning. I'm still learning. And then you keep learning perhaps until Jesus calls you. But I think I'm doing better now, because the last major transition I had, the moment the person said to me, oh, this is what I'm doing, in my less mature days, I would insist, okay, today we are over. But I have learned that is immaturity as well. So I let the person give me, and she said, well, I will do 1 month transition. I said, not enough for me. Because I do not want you living and creating gaps that break other things in my life. So for that reason, take your time. I'm going to take my time. I'll find a replacement. You would work with that replacement for a bit before you leave. And I think I did very well in that last navigation, because I have learned over time that no matter what, nobody will be with you for life. Your children are not with you for life. They grow up and they leave. Now, we have 3 adult children, and December is coming, and we're asking them, do you want to come home? Are you coming home? Do you need us? For the last 3 years, we have always had to go to them, because they say, we don't want to come home. I'm busy. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And we want to always ensure that we have time together as a family. So I and my husband will buy tickets, and then we will go. So if I can't force my child to come home and stay at home, what gives me the right to want to keep one person with me all my life. Does that make sense?
Wow.
Do you see it?
Yes.
So seasons will change. Even you are changing.
Yes.
If you're honest, it's not everybody you've known in the course of your life that you're still holding on to. And if as a leader, you're holding on to everybody that has led you over the course of your life, you're holding a lot of dead bodies. Because seasons have changed, they're no longer contributing, many things have moved forward, but sentimentalism will not let you shift. You can shift and not mess up anything. So the focus should be, I want to help this person transition, and I don't want them to break anything in the process. Right in this room is someone who shifted at some point. Did you not? Yes. 2021, he moved out. But because of the way the transition worked, 2024, he came right back in. There was no discomfort. We didn't have to learn new things. We didn't need to learn new ground rules. Do you see it?
Wow.
Because sometimes we have many things to give, but people in our lives need something extra that we cannot give them. It is part of our maturity to let them go and take what they need somewhere else. Now, of course, sometimes they just go because they think the grass is greener on the other side. But teach your people that slamming doors is not allowed. I tell my people every time, slamming doors, not allowed. Slamming doors, not allowed. If you want to go, come and tell me I'm leaving. But if you walk away and you don't tell me, you have slammed the door. If you walk away and you lie to me about what your nest is like, you have slammed the door. Because when I find out, I'm not going to be happy. If you walk away and you tell people tales that are not exactly true, even if they are true, if they have no business knowing, and you tell them and I find out, you have slammed the door. If you walk away and the next place you are going to is someone I introduce you to, and you did not have the courtesy to come and tell me first, you have slammed the door. So teach your people, leaders, not to slam doors. Now, they will still slam doors. Because no matter what you say, some people will still just slam doors. As we say in Edo State, left them for God. Did I help you? You're not supposed to just shake your head. You're supposed to say, no, I don't agree.
I am so, because for every, you touched on, you were very specific, because I was going to ask, how practically, because you were very specific about things people can do to slam doors, because those things are very necessary. And I hope we're taking notes of these things, because they are very important. And some of us, you've lived long enough, you would have experienced, or had to go through this. And for me, I just want to also ask one more question. And this is really around, the other person that is having to make that transition. Because a lot of times we just feel, see, don't hold me, I need to go now. Don't, they would also find themselves in a space where they have to also do the same, and I just want to be able to know, I want you to be able to touch on, there's something you were saying to us while we were behind, before we came on camera. You were talking about how you get into relationships, how you get into mentor-mentee relationships, and how that the person who you are mentoring, is someone that you are seeing to be a potential friend, so that these transitions might not necessarily would not be a bigger issue.
Yes.
So I want you to touch on, the posture of that person being mentored, and then this posture that you talked about, we talked about behind the scene, about getting into that kind of relationship, knowing that, see, this person I can be safe around, this person the transition will not be as harsh, because I'm entering this relationship as this is somebody I can live life with, practically I can be myself. And the other person as well, what you're living, you're transiting, what should be your mindset in stepping in making this transition going forward?
I think that we all must recognize that we should know that the people we are living are human beings.
Okay.
They have feelings.
Yes.
They can hurt.
Yes.
when we have that at the back of our minds,
Yeah.
and we just want to be good human beings,
Okay.
you will be a lot more careful
Okay.
in your transitions.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, what I was telling you behind the scenes was I go into mentoring relationships really just
Okay.
me.
Okay.
So if you come that close to me, you know me.
Yeah.
And if you know me, then transitioning wrong is using what you know about me against me. Do you see it?
Yeah.
So you need to know that even if you're going to leave me in Nigeria and go to Canada, that's just a plane ride away. So just because you're going to Canada doesn't mean that you collapse every apparatus of communication that we have.
Okay.
Keep the communication lines open.
Yeah.
Again, the onus is on you because you're the one who is transitioning to reach out to this person.
Okay.
Now, of course, some of us leaders are badly behaved.
Okay.
Let's call it what it is. You will reach out to me and I will not respond. That happens as well.
Yeah, possibly still hurting.
Yes, but recognize that if it were you, you will feel the exact same way. Especially in cases, because I've been there where we have this grand plan of what we're going to do. This is November.
Yeah.
So we have this grand plan of what we're going to do in January.
Okay.
And then in December 31st, you send me this cryptic WhatsApp message telling me, oh, I'm leaving. Meanwhile, when we were making all of those plans, you knew you were going to make that transition. That's when you should have said to me, I don't think you should make these plans around me. So that in that moment, I know that, okay, I don't have this person. So I'm going to make plans and make backup plans for my backup plans. Do you see that? So it's just being considerate of each other. Whether you are the leader or the one who in this moment is the one who's following. Because all of us are leaders in certain rights or the other, or one right or the other.
Yeah.
Just know that consideration is a trait of a human being, of a good human being.
Yeah.
And be considerate. If you're leaving, be considerate. If I leave now, what will happen with this person? And then you, the leader, also be considerate. If I insist that they stay, what will go bad with their life? Because here I was telling someone early this morning that part of me is that the proof that I have led well is that someone can represent me somewhere. Someone can only represent me somewhere if they become really like me.
So good. So
Do you
good.
get it?
That's so good.
They've become really like
So
me,
good. So
which
good.
means you have grown.
So
That's
good.
proof of my effectiveness.
So good.
How can I be envious
So good.
of my effectiveness?
That's so good.
Unless
That's the way to
we're
say it.
here and
So
I'm just pretending
So
I never want you to grow. If I'm truly feeding you, you will grow. And if you grow and you refuse to leave, I should push you out. Yeah?
Wow.
All of us, I think, should want to be leaders that
Wow.
can say, oh,
Wow.
they asked me to come. I'm not available. I'm traveling tomorrow. But you can go. Because even if it's a topic they ask you to teach, you teach it exactly like I'll teach it. It's proof of my effectiveness. Even if you go there and shine and you get all the accolades, you know where it's coming from.
Yes.
Now, you who was sent, when you get there, stand there and acknowledge your roots. You don't need to stand there and pretend like, oh, I got it all together.
Wow. Wow.
It's just consideration. I don't think we have more time, do we?
So good.
So that's all you have to say. So
This
good.
is so good. This is so good. But if we're being sincere, these are things that, you talked about the fact that you're learning, because these are things that in practice, in applying them in real life can be tough. But hearing these things, hearing you share these things is really very pivotal. There's something you just said now, as a leader, you also need to discern when it's time to send people out before they begin to even have that conversation. In fact, for some people, they might not even be able to, they are thinking about, okay, how do I start this conversation? It can be a voice note, it can be an SMS, it can be a WhatsApp. And how do I have this
Bite the bullet and show up?
Yes,
and
but
just
these conversations need to be had.
They have to be had. It is important that we have them rather than assume.
Yes.
And just do things tardily.
Yes.
I don't think that God wants us to be tardy human beings.
Yes.
So there's a tidiness with which we should close seasons.
Yes.
And that's what I am advocating. Now, let me say this so every one of you knows.
Yes.
I'm not perfect.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm not saying to you
so
that I have it together.
These are your final thoughts?
But yes,
okay.
For this one.
Okay,
I'm not perfect.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that I have figured it all out.
Yes, ma'am.
But as we grow, we learn many things. And these are some of the things that I have learned. What are your final thoughts today?
I'm taking a lot home today, and apart from asking you these questions, I'm processing some because I'm also in that process where I'm learning these things, and I'm learning from you the things you shared about the posture one should take as a leader in mentoring, because sometimes as a leader you feel you're called to everybody, but there are in discerning relationships where mentor-mentee relationships, you need to understand that the relationship itself will go through transition. A mentor. So you must be able to see that person also as a friend, someone that you can be comfortable around, so that even in transitions, you are able to make those shifts,
and then,
more easily.
Yes.
So you don't have to be under the pressure to have all the answers, because that's what the culture sometimes tell you, that you have to, so you are forming,
you're forming like
Yes, and then when you have been comfortable with someone, when you have finally stopped forming after maybe working a relationship with that person for 3, 4, 5 years, and the person is making transitions, you now get uncomfortable because you are thinking about how to start that process again, with somebody else.
I think that if we step away from making it a process and we just make it who we are, then any which way, it's what we do.
Well,
thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on this episode of the Nevertheless Show. We looked at harnessing relationships. I don't know whether the title does it justice, but we're just looking at how to walk through or navigate transitions within relationships. Next week, we'll be back, which I don't know what else better we'll be bringing our way, but I'll be here if Jesus tarries. Remember that I tell you that if you discover purpose, you'll live a powerful life. Just hold on to what you know. And remember, the key for this particular episode is be considerate, because it's the trait of a good human being. I'll see you next week. Bethel, will you be here?
Definitely.
Definitely. God bless you. And bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to Nevertheless. For more information and resources, call 080-90563-555 or send an email to bidemi@bidemimark-mordi.com. Don't forget, discovering your purpose helps you live more powerfully.